Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Paper Rose Studio's brand new Easter Memories collection. This is just one of several fun Easter collections that Paper Rose has recently released. I'll be using the 6x6 paper, but it is available in 12x12. I have the Easter Memories and also Easter Memories Basics paper collections. Along with the paper collections, I will be using some of the coordinating embossed die cut and cut apart packs. So I've already gone ahead and punched out several of the embossed die cuts. I've also cut out some of the images, sentiments, several of the pattern paper strips, and these are in the cut apart pack. And I have all of the pieces in a divided tray. I love that glossy finish on the embossed die cuts. These 4 strips are part of the 6x6 pattern paper. And on that same sheet of paper were lots of sentiments. Some of them are Easter and spring, but others you could use throughout the year. In today's video, I'll be sharing 8 different card designs using the Easter Memories collection. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I will be using some card sketches for inspiration. If you're interested in any of the sketches, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. This first sketch is from Sketch Saturday. It's number 591. For the background of my card, selected this beautiful paper featuring lots of crosses covered in lovely florals. I'm adding a narrow strip of the light pink polka dot paper. For a little bit of separation and shine, I'll put a Love from Lizzie peel off along the top and bottom of the polka dot paper. This is the gold color in pinstripe style. I'm using some of the smaller leftover pieces since I will be covering up the right side. I'll wrap the ends of the peel-offs around the back, layer this piece on some brown cardstock. The cross pattern paper piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and the brown cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. So 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. Then I'll put more adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. I used the wood grain pattern paper for the strip on the right side of the card, and I did layer it on the same dark brown cardstock. I'll be adding 2 words to create the sentiment Easter Blessings, and these are some of the cut aparts. I did pop them up using foam dimension. I'll add the word blessings down first, and on the very left side of the sentiment, I did add some extra foam dimension just in the area where it goes off of that wood grain panel, and that'll help it stay at the same level. After adhering both of the sentiment words, I'll add one of the embossed die cut pieces, this sweet little bunny, and I did put foam dimension on the back of the bunny. For embellishments, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the gold color in the mini circle style. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The other card is the same, other than I used a different bunny embossed die cut piece. For card design number 2, the card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. This is number 766. For the background of my card, I have some white shimmer cardstock, so it has that lovely pearlescent finish. Down the center of the card, I'm using some of the yellow gingham pattern paper. For a little bit of shine along the edge of the pattern paper, I'll add another Love from Lizzie peel-off. This is the gold color in pinstripe style. I'm using the narrowest width, and I'll put it along the edge of the gingham pattern paper. I'll wrap the ends around the back, then layer this piece on some green cardstock. The white background piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and the background green cardstock piece is A2 size. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. I'm keeping the background of this card fairly simple with just the white shimmer cardstock and the gingham paper, since I really want the featured elements to be the image and sentiment. For the two smaller rectangle pieces, these are from the pattern paper sheet that had 4 different strips of lovely foliage. I just cut those down for the 2 small rectangle pieces. The bunny image and the Hello Spring image are both cut aparts from the cut apart pack. I'll layer all 4 of the pieces on the same green cardstock. And my green cardstock layers are an additional 1/8 of an inch. Now, since I used some cut apart pieces for the image and sentiment, I didn't follow the measurements of the card sketch. I'm really going more for the main idea of the design. So once I have all 4 of those pieces layered on green cardstock, I'll place them on the card, trying to get them evenly spaced. Then I'll start adhering the 4 pieces down, and I'm using Barely Art glue. That way I have a little bit of time to get everything adjusted before the glue completely dries. I'll start with the Hello Spring piece, put it in the lower right-hand corner. Then I'll add one of the small foliage rectangle pieces on the left side, add the bunny in the upper left-hand corner, and then the final foliage piece in the upper right-hand corner. To finish off the card, I'll add more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the gold color in the mini circle style, using the medium-sized circle, putting 3 in the upper left-hand corner and 2 underneath the sentiment in the lower right-hand corner. Decided to keep this card nice and flat. That way, if I want to mail the card, I won't have to pay any additional postage. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. Now moving on to card design number 3. For this card, I won't be using a card sketch, but I really wanted to use one of the pattern papers that have the large image in the lower left-hand corner. And this little bunny surrounded by flowers is so sweet. In the upper right-hand corner of this same sheet, there's a little collection of flowers. So I cut down this panel to 3 1/4 of an inch by 5 1/4 of an inch. I'll add it on some light pink cardstock. And my pattern paper piece was just a tiny bit longer than the pink cardstock, so I did use a pair of scissors to trim off the extra. To add that little bit of separation and shine, I'm putting a Love from Lizzie peel-off on the right and left side of the bunny paper. On the left side, I'm using the gold color in pinstripe style, the narrowest width. And for a little extra detail, instead of staying with that same pinstripe straight style, I'm using the sway peel-off in gold. So it has that fun wavy detail. When adhering that bunny panel, I also put it closer to the left side of the background. I'll layer the background on some dark green cardstock, put ATG tape on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Now I'll bring in 3 of the embossed die cut pieces, 2 butterfly images, and the sentiment Easter greetings. I've already put foam dimension on the back. I'm using scrapbook.com's small foam squares in the 1 millimeter thickness. I'll put the sentiment in the upper right-hand corner. The large butterfly will go underneath, and the small butterfly will go on the left side of the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, I added the sentiment Celebrate Spring and a lovely floral butterfly. For card design number 4, the card sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. This is number 673. For the background of my card, use some of the teal polka dot pattern paper, and I cut it out using one of Paper Rose's stitched rectangle dies. On the right side of the polka dot paper, I'm adding a large stitch circle die cut, and I use this lovely egg pattern paper design. I'll put Barely Art glue on the back of the circle, adhere it in place, then I'll layer the stitched rectangle die cut on some dark green cardstock. I'll put adhesive on the back and add this panel on an A2 size white shimmer cardstock piece. Now I'll add my card front onto a card base. I am keeping this card fairly simple and I am following the design of the card sketch. I really want to feature this beautiful egg pattern paper. I love the designs of the eggs. There's one that has several pink tulips on the inside. I could see getting the 12 by 12 paper just to get that as a larger image. It really is a beautiful design. For the foliage piece that goes on the right side of the sentiment, I'm using Paper Rose's Dainty Foliage die set. I cut out 2 pieces from the same dark green cardstock. I'll adhere those down first. I'm not putting glue behind the very top of the foliage pieces. That way I can lift the end up for more of a dimensional look. For a sentiment, I'm adding the word springtime, and this is one of the cut aparts. I did put some scrap pattern paper pieces on the left side of the sentiment, just in the area where it goes off of the foliage and circle die cut. Then I'll adhere it in place with barely art glue. For embellishments, I'm adding more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in Racing Green Mirror color. I'll put 3 in the upper right-hand corner and 2 underneath the sentiment on the left side. Now moving on to card design number 5. I love pattern paper that has a wood grain design, and Paper Rose tends to include at least one wood grain design in their collections. So for this card, I'm using that wood grain pattern paper for the background. This piece is 5 1/4 of an inch by 4 inches. I'll layer it on some dark brown cardstock, put adhesive on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Using Paper Rose's stitched oval die set, I cut out a large oval from white cardstock, and I did trim the bottom area of that oval off. On that flat edge of the oval, this is where I'll add the Happy Easter sentiment. And this is one of the embossed die cuts, so it has that gorgeous glossy finish. I'll adhere the oval down first, then add the sentiment underneath. The very top of it will cover up the edge of the cut oval. I'll be adding 3 more of the embossed die cut pieces, 2 sweet bunnies, and this beautiful pink floral arrangement. I'll glue the bunnies down first, and the feet will sit on that top edge of the sentiment piece. For the floral piece, I am popping it up using some foam dimension. I have the small foam squares from scrapbook.com in the 1mm thickness. I'll make sure to get good coverage on the back so there isn't one area that sags. Then I'll remove the release paper and add the floral piece in front of the 2 bunnies and right above the sentiment. So it looks like they're peeking out from behind these beautiful pink flowers. For embellishments, using more circle peel-offs in gold, put 3 in the upper right-hand corner and 2 on the left side of the larger bunny. It took me a moment to decide where to place those last 2 circles. First thought about putting them on that sentiment strip, but ended up putting it on the left side of the wood grain pattern paper. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The second card, completely different. The strip at the bottom is from the cut apart pack, added an egg, a sweet little bird, and the sentiment celebrate. Now moving on to card design number 6. The card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. It's number 552. For the background of my card, using the pattern paper with lots of colorful Easter eggs. For the narrow strip on the left side, using the teal gingham pattern paper, and for that wider 2-inch strip, using some of this peachy pink polka dot pattern paper. I'll layer those 2 pieces on some white shimmer cardstock. Now on the card sketch, it doesn't have this narrow strip going across the card, but I decided to add it. This is from the cut apart pack. It's a very pale teal color with polka dots. For a little bit of separation along the edge of that strip, I'm adding some silver holographic peel-offs. This is the pinstripe style and I'm using the medium width. I'm able to use some of the smaller scrap pieces since I will be covering up most of the area with those pattern paper strips. I'll wrap the ends around the back, layer the egg pattern paper piece on some silver holographic mirror cardstock. I know you'll only see that tiny bit along the outside edge, but it still adds tons of sparkle. If you want to save some of that specialty cardstock, you could always use a die or punch to cut out the center since it's covered up by the pattern paper. I'll add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Next, I'll add the gingham piece on the left side of the card, but before I add the polka dot pattern paper, I'll put a scrap piece of cardstock on the right side, just in the area where it goes off of that gingham piece. That way it stays at the same level. On the card sketch, it indicates an oval for the image. I'm switching that up to a rectangle since I'll be adding one of the cut aparts. Has the sentiment Easter greetings and a sweet bunny image. I'll layer the cut apart on the same silver holographic cardstock. So when this card is finished, it will be super sparkly. Before adhering the sentiment piece down, I will add some foam just on the very right side edge where it goes off of the polka dot pattern paper. Then I'll put glue on the back of the rest of the cut apart and adhere it in place. In the lower left-hand corner of the polka dot panel, I'm adding 2 of the embossed egg die cut pieces. I was going to put the teal egg on the left side, but it blends in with that gingham pattern just a little bit too much. So instead I'll put the smaller peach colored egg, and I did pop it up with some foam dimension. And before adhering the larger teal egg, I will put foam dimension behind it, but just on the right side. The area where it sits on top of the smaller egg, I'll add a little bit of Barely Art glue. To finish off the card, adding more Love from Lizzie peel-offs, using the mini circle style in silver holographic color, and I'll add 3 large circles in the upper right-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I love how this card turned out, especially with all the holographic sparkle. Most of my Easter cards will be going to local retirement home residents, and hopefully it'll bring a smile to whoever receives it. Now moving on to card design number 7. For the background of my card, using this large gingham pattern paper, and I'll be adding a large banner using the peach polka dot pattern paper and a smaller banner I cut out from vellum. And the die set I use for the 2 banners is Paper Rose's Banner 2 Large die set. For the polka dot banner, it's a little bit longer than what I want on the card. So when I add adhesive on the back, I'll skip about 1/4 of an inch at the very top. I'll adhere it down, then flip over this panel, use a pair of scissors, and trim off the overhang. I'll layer the background piece on some peach cardstock, put adhesive on the back, and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. To adhere the vellum banner, I'll put a little bit of Barely Art glue behind that top center area, adhere it down. I love using vellum, but it can be tricky since adhesive will show through. So I always try to put adhesive behind areas that are covered up with other pieces. I'm adding a cut apart sentiment Easter blessings with a nest of colorful Easter eggs. And I also have the sentiment Hello Spring. This is another cut apart. I have foam dimension on the back of both pieces. I'll add the sentiment down first. And since I have foam all the way on the right and left side of the sentiment, it will help adhere the bottom of the vellum banner. For embellishments, I'm adding 2 of the butterfly embossed die cut pieces. So there is my finished card, and this time I made a total of 3. For one of the cards, the sentiment pieces are the embossed die cut pieces. Now moving on to card design number 8, and this is my final card design. The card sketch is from OWH, it's number 236. For the background of my card, using some craft cardstock, and I've already embossed it using Paper Rose's Simple Dot 3D embossing folder. I'll be using the deboss side. This is one of my favorite embossing folders. You can never have too many polka dot designs. For the large panel, I'm using the pink and white grid pattern paper, layering it on some pink pearlescent cardstock. This is just cardstock from my stash. I'll put adhesive on the back and add the pattern paper panel on the embossed background. Now I'll layer the embossed background on more of the pink pearlescent cardstock. And whenever I have an embossed piece plus some specialty cardstock, I use extra adhesive. Want to make sure it all stays together. I'll put ATG tape on the back and also barely art glue. And while I wait for that glue to dry, I'll also place a large acrylic block on top for some added weight. While I let that sit for a moment, I'll cut a fishtail on the pink banner, and this cardstock is the back side of the pink pearlescent cardstock. So it's a slightly different pink color. I'll put adhesive on the back of my card front and adhere it on a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. Next, I'll add the pink banner on the left side of the card. I will be adding a stitch circle die cut, and I'll grab that first, hold it up to the card, that way I can get the placement of the banner correct. Now I'll put glue on the back of the circle and adhere it on the pink banner. For an image, I'm using one of the embossed die cuts. This beautiful pink nest with pink flowers and pink eggs. I love this image, it's so pretty. And I did pop it up using foam dimension. For a sentiment, I'm adding Spring Blessings, and this is one of the cut aparts from the pattern paper. I'll cut a fishtail on the right side, and I'll tuck the left side underneath the embossed image. Before adhering it down, I will put some scrap cardstock pieces behind the sentiment, just in the area where it goes off of that circle die cut. Now I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in place, making sure to get it nice and straight on the card, and having that grid design in the background really helps. For embellishments, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the white color in the mini circle style. I'll put 3 in the upper right-hand corner and 2 in the lower left-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and this time I made 3 using this design. I love all the pink, it just makes me happy. I use different embossed die cut pieces and cut apart sentiments. Since I'm working on Easter cards right now, I did focus on using Easter or spring sentiments, but for many of the images and designs, they would work for other card themes. Now here's another look at the 18 cards I made using Paper Rose Studios' brand new Easter Memories collection. I use both 6x6 paper pads, but they are available in the 12x12 size. And along with the pattern paper, I also used 3 of the embossed die cut packs and 1 cut apart pack. There are other products that are part of the Easter Memories release, and I will have a link for the entire collection listed below. Paper Rose is located in Australia, and they do ship their products internationally, but you can also purchase them here in the US, and I have links for both locations listed below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.